Welcome back to That's Some Cheese, part of the Vendetta Sports Podcast Network. Today is Friday, April 15th, 2022. I'm in a new location. I got dragged to this egg hunt of all things this year.
To where?
Yeah, I'm going to be searching for eggs, basically, for like the whole day.
Like, I'm hoping chocolate eggs.
No, I think they're just regular eggs with whatever inside. Egg hunt. Yeah. So that's what I'll be doing today.
So not an Easter egg hunt.
It's an Easter egg hunt, but I guess it's like a 2-day event.
But is it with Easter eggs, like chocolate eggs,
Yeah.
or is it with actual eggs?
I don't know. I'm not sure yet. This is the first year I'm doing it.
I'm really hoping it's Easter eggs, because otherwise that's a pretty shit hunt.
Yeah. Jarrod Prosser is here. We're gonna be doing some NBA stuff. Jarrod,
and some Easter talk, apparently.
Yeah, it hasn't been that long, actually. You were here not too long ago.
No, it wasn't too long ago. Usually we have longer breaks between me stepping up as a guest. We always talk about coming on more regularly, and then we just don't. Life gets in the way, as they say.
Yeah. So I had an idea. I probably should have shared this 4 days ago. I just feel like it's kind of wide open this year, and I know Phoenix is probably the top dog, but it does feel like maybe more than ever that 5 teams could end up winning it. 6 teams could end up winning it if maybe an injury happens here or matchup happens here. So I wanted to do a snake draft, maybe sort of form a power rankings for the teams going into the playoffs, and then we can sort of dive into each matchup when we get to that team.
Yeah. So when you say a power rankings, we'll choose via snake draft our most interesting teams and talk about that matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm down.
So since you're the guest, you can have the first pick.
All right. Well, let's have a look here. What should our matchup be? It won't be anything involving Atlanta, I can tell you that much. Let's talk about a couple of upstart teams to start with. Let's talk about Memphis and Minnesota. But
I did not expect that to be your first pick.
Yeah, no, this one really, I got to admit, these aren't the sides that I think will win it. So I'm probably going against what you're thinking here anyway. But this is the most intriguing matchup for me. I'm gonna let you take Memphis though. I'll talk Minnesota. You can talk Memphis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you the run on the favored Grizz.
Well, I just did a show about how I think the Grizzlies are vulnerable, so I guess I have to switch that up.
Not necessarily. This is about what we think will happen. If you think Memphis is vulnerable, and I don't disagree with you, then yeah, let's go with that.
Since you're taking Minnesota, I think I have to be pro Memphis. I would say Ja Morant's the best player in the series.
Mm-hmm.
I know Towns is very good, but that play-in game performance by Towns wasn't so hot.
No, that was god awful. Having said that, though, I'll let you go first before I get on to Towns.
Memphis, they're winning a lot of games without Ja Morant, so maybe they're a little bit deeper than we thought. It seems like they win every game without Ja Morant. Desmond Bane's a real contender for most improved player of the year. Jaren Jackson just got robbed on that ESPN 25 under 25 list. I don't know how there's 24 players better than him.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. I think they're probably the better team here. They've shown it kind of all year. Why should we expect a upstart Minnesota team that's kind of we've seen this in recent playoff history where Memphis was actually in the playing game last year, taking a step forward. Minnesota's kind of a year behind them in that trajectory. So
yeah, I agree. Memphis is the favored team here. But they're the number 2 seed for a reason. As you mentioned, they miss their talisman and they still win games. And that is a testament to that depth. And that depth manifests itself in that it's very difficult. Like, there is something to be said for not having a weak player on the floor. Because that team runs, 10, 11, sometimes 12 players deep. No matter who's out, they're always going to have a good rotation of 7 or 8. So where I think they are vulnerable, though, is that if Ja isn't Ja, if Ja is out, if Ja is struggling, then can the rest of this team carry them in a playoff setting? There is one reason that Ja could struggle in this series, and his name, and scream it from the scorer's table, is Patrick Beverley. Bev's he lives for these sort of matchups. We know he made his name annoying the living shit out of Russell Westbrook, and that's prime MVP, triple double nightly Westbrook. This isn't Lakers Westbrook we're talking about. Ja is exactly the sort of guard that Patrick Beverley loves to get in the face of. As for the rest of the team, we'll get on to Towns now. We may as well get the elephant in the room out of the way. He was awful, absolutely awful against the Clippers. Answer me this. Does Karl Anthony Towns' left hand do anything?
No.
Is it there for anything more than ballast to stop him overbalancing onto his right side?
Well, maybe he can share. He can share one hand with Julius Randle because he's missing one hand too.
Oh my God! If you took Julius Randle's left side and Karl Anthony Towns' right side,
yes.
Oh my God! You'd have the perfect power forward. It's I don't know. Is there some sort of basketballing Dr. Frankenstein that we can call on to make this happen? And then at the same time, if you take Randall's right and Towns' left, you've got a guy who might not even make the Shanghai Sharks.
Did you like that post they did, by the way? They might be the leading contender to trade for Westbrook.
That was fantastic, and I can tell you, United wouldn't give up Delhi. They love him. They love the man. So
LeBron James's kid's not enough in that trade package.
No. I mean, like you said, Bronny's looking like a second rounder. It's that's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Like Larry Kestelman, who owns the team, he's all for a little bit of cash, but even he's not that silly. He knows Delhi's a good homegrown boy. Anyway, awesome. Back to Minnesota, back at the ranch. Look, Towns, all the Clippers, I think 3 of the 4 games that the Clippers and the Wolves played were back in early December. They're all in the space of about 3 weeks, and then there was one later on this season. So those 3 games all happened before Chris Finch came on board. Now, this team is this is a completely different side from pretty much the new year to what they were in 2021. Having said that, the Clippers have always given Karl Towns fits. He hates playing him. It's not that their physicality is dirty, but it's relentless. They are always putting a body on you. Off the ball, there's always an arm in the small of your back. There's always a little nudge. In Australian rules, we call it tagging. That even away from the ball, you just put physical work into the opposition's best midfielder and just wear them down, mentally as well as physically. And Towns isn't equipped for that yet. Having said that, Patrick Beverley is, D'Angelo Russell is, and Anthony Edwards sure as hell looks like he is. That guy, I saw something the other day where Bill Simmons compared Anthony Edwards to J.R. Ryder. And I thought, well, physically, yeah, but that's about it. Like this guy, like Anthony Edwards, he reminds me a little bit of Dwayne Wade. He reminds me of a bigger Donovan Mitchell. Like the way his speed, his first step is just ridiculous. It's probably quicker than Wade's.
He's got some moments where he takes your breath away.
Oh, absolutely. He gets from 3-point line to the bucket in a blink of an eye. If he's hitting his threes, and of course in that playing game he hit his first 2 threes and he was away from there. But he's the sort of guy that if he hits his first couple of shots and gets a little bit of confidence, it's over. He is already a dynamic offensive player. I don't know whether Memphis has got the ability to hold him. I really don't. If he's on, I don't know if anybody on Memphis can really hold him. Dylan Brooks will for about 10 minutes until he fouls out. But aside from that, they don't really have anybody, I think, that is capable of going with him. Now, another area of concern here for the Timberwolves, though, is that they are, whenever Vanderbilt's not on the court, they are a god-awful rebounding side. And Memphis, particularly on the offensive boards, are one of the best rebounding sides in the league. if Towns is hitting his shots, hitting his outside shot, and he's able to up fake and go, then that might play Steven Adams off the floor, and that's where that rebounding inequality might bring itself back to a little bit of parity. So there's some ways for Minnesota to get back into it. But having said that, they've come in through the plane. Memphis are the number 2 seed, who've missed their best player for large chunks of the season. They should win, but this is a really interesting series for me. And it's what you said at the start. Minnesota are where Memphis are last year. So are Minnesota on their way to a similar trajectory? Are Memphis is their progression going to be linear, or are they going to take that step and then drop back in the form of a first round exit, or at the very least a first round scare? I'd be really interested to see how Memphis handle this. And I think Minnesota's got nothing to lose. And that's a dangerous thing for a talented team.
I got one name for you, and then we can move on to the next team.
Mm-hmm.
Jayden McDaniels, kind of an X factor for them, right? Pretty good defensively.
I love him. Absolutely love him. He's a reasonable catch and shoot jump shot away from being to being a stereotypical 3-and-D wing. The D is there now. The 3 comes and goes. He's actually shown more playmaking chops than I expected. He's actually a pretty reasonable passer, but he doesn't get the ball that much. And his passing is offset by the fact that he just can't dribble to save himself. He'll up fake, he'll go, and he can't dribble his way into vision to use the vision that you can see he wants to make a particular pass, but he can't create the angle because he doesn't have the respect from the defense or his jumper, or the ability to break someone down off the bounce. But he tightens up the dribble. He gets his jump shot in, gets his jump shot to fall a little more. And there's a hell of a player sitting there. Not an all-star level player, but he's the sort of guy who down the line is going to be that fringe all defense and might get you 12 to 14 points a game. The perfect big wing to guard the likes of Kawhi, PG, LeBron, these sorts of players.
And anybody that a team could have can fit right into any team.
Oh, absolutely. He's low usage. He'll just play defense. He'll, a fully actualized version of him would be able to hit his shots and create a little bit off the bounce. A perfect 4th option. Absolutely perfect 4th option. Basically, he is the best version of him will be what Jeremy Grant is now.
Ooh, that's high praise.
That's the best version of him. That's if everything works. And, as we know, not everything always works. But he has that sort of potential in him. Everything has to go right for him to get there. But even if it doesn't, even if he gets to 80% of that, still a pretty good player.
I'm going to take Brooklyn. Brooklyn.
But wait, hang on. You're taking that series, or you're taking Brooklyn, the team?
The team.
Wow. That means you're giving me Boston.
Yep, I'm giving you Boston.
The man with the little B on him right now is giving me his team.
I'm more loyal to the Sox than anybody. I just think at the end of the day, we've learned this lesson before. The 2 best players in a playoff series usually control the playoff series. With no Robert Williams, Durant's going to slaughter them. And I know Tatum's been very, very good at the second half of the year. But to say he's going to go head to head with Durant and then the rest of the depth pieces can take over from there, that's a lot to ask out of him.
Yeah. This series isn't as lopsided as it was a few weeks ago. Back when Kyrie wasn't playing home games and when Robert Williams was playing.
I think I'm actually like 60-40 Nets win it.
I'd say 60-40, but probably towards the Celtics.
Okay.
But when it gets to 60-40, you're not saying it with an awful lot of confidence.
No.
So give me your pro Brooklyn. Why are Brooklyn winning this series?
I hate betting against Durant is number 1.
Yeah.
I think still at the end of the day, and I know Jokic is probably going to win the MVP, but there's not a player you're taking in a playoff series right now ahead of Durant.
Oh, it's the old, if I had one player to play a game for my life, who would you take? It's him or LeBron or maybe Giannis.
Yeah.
In a one game setting. So We saw it in the play-in game against the Cavs. As Cleveland made that run and got it close, all of a sudden it was just, okay, well, let's get Kevin Durant, to just drive into 15
You can't stop the guy
over the top of whoever's guarding him, and it's automatic.
And when Kyrie's playing at the level that he's shown that he's recently been able to play, I mean, that's a tough ask.
Yeah, but having said that, those two playing at such a level, for me, is a reason why Boston should win this. Because are we expecting Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to play 40, 42 minutes a night? And Kyrie didn't miss a shot until the last quarter. And it wasn't like he was only taking open jumpers. He was taking his usual batshit mental, like 3 people in his face.
He's so talented.
All the way jumpers off the dribble. And he was making everything. And it wasn't like they were hitting rim and hitting backboard and bouncing in. These were pure. So if as a Nets fan you're expecting that to happen, it might. And if it does,
it just needs to happen 4 times.
Well, that's the thing. It's got to happen 4 times. And if it does, everybody except Boston fans will be happy, because it means we're watching some ridiculous basketball. But it's highly, highly unlikely, especially when you consider that Kyrie is going to have to deal with a combination of Marcus Smart and Derek White. And KD is going to have to deal with Tatum and Brown. Now, I was looking at some cleaning the glass stats on one-on-one matchups between these two teams, because I'm a nerd, clearly. But it surprised me that the person who has guarded KD the most in actual time between these two teams this season was Time Lord. Yeah. It's because of all those switches that they generally, that switching defense of Boston's, especially before they moved Williams away from the ball, moved him onto the weakest player to let him roam in the back line. But it was actually Williams who had spent the most time on Durant, which was interesting in that I would have liked to have seen whether that continued, or whether whether Ime Udoka found ways to keep Williams in the back line. And look, if he finds a way to keep Horford, or Tice or Grant Williams, whoever he plays in that role as that backline rover, that's great. But they're not Rob Williams. Horford was 15 years ago, 10 years ago, but he's not that now. And it means that we're going to get KD with a couple of guys who can at least match him, or relatively come close to matching him physically, in Tatum and Brown. But how does that impact what they do offensively? And really, those two are the offense for Boston.
Yeah, Grant Williams has to hit shots. They don't have enough shooting yet.
Yeah, he does.
One thing I'm
get these open looks.
Yeah.
The one thing that worries me for this matchup from a Brooklyn perspective is that Brooklyn will want to close with Kyrie, KD, and then a bunch of small people.
Mm-hmm.
They'll close with Curry. They'll close with probably Mills. They might close with Bruce Brown. Boston are huge.
Oh, yeah.
Boston are a massive, massive side. So, they're basically like Toronto. They've just got arms everywhere. Now, Curry's generously listed at 6'2". I'm 6 foot tall, and I've stood next to Patty Mills. He's listed at 6'1". There is no way he's 6'1". I'm taller than him, and I'm 6 foot. So, this is a small side outside of Kevin Durant being an unusually large human being. So
that's the area I wanted to go to, because without Robert Williams, it feels like Philadelphia would have been a nightmare matchup. Oh God, I got to watch him tear apart Tice. That's not going over well. No. I don't think Nick Claxton can take advantage of this matchup the way a Philly would, or a Giannis would. They really need Rob Williams for those teams.
Yeah. Look, watching Claxton and Mobley, as great as Mobley is, watching Claxton and Mobley go at it at the rim in that playing game, it was like watching 2 pipe cleaners get tangled up. The two of them are so damn skinny. Look, the X factor in all of this though is a rather enigmatic Australian who's planning to return in Game 4, according to reports today.
Is he going to come back? I thought he wasn't coming back.
Apparently, he's targeting game 4.
Okay.
So, I mean, look, believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I'm almost like, I don't believe that.
Well, and realistically, he's going to play 15 minutes max. Let's say it's a 7-game series. He comes back game 4. It's not delayed any further. He won't be anything more than a 10 to 15 minute player.
And he's only going to play defense.
He hasn't played since he came to Brooklyn. He hasn't played this season. So, and the other side of it is that Bruce Brown, sure enough, Bruce Brown can't hit shots, but we know Bruce Brown can't hit shots because he actually attempts shots. Ben Simmons, for all we know, Ben Simmons could be the new Craig Hodges. He could be the new Klay Thompson, but he just never bothers to show us. Now,
my question is, he comes back, right? He's not going to be tasked with guarding Tatum. Like, if he hasn't played all year, how could you ask him to do that?
Well, that's the thing. He will, but only in short bursts. He's not going to have his game leagues under him, but he will. And then you get him on the short roll. Admittedly, this is a role that I love Brett Brown, but I think Brett Brown naming as a point guard has gone a long way to ruining Simmons, because I think him as a Draymond type, a short roll playmaking power forward, would have been perfect. As much as he's got point guard ability, he's not a point guard. So I'm hoping that Steve Nash can convince, or maybe not Nash, maybe it's KD and Kyrie, convince Simmons that we get double teamed. You come up and screen. We get double teamed. We'll throw the ball to you. You got 4 on 3. Just go and make shit up from there. Just be yourself. So I'm hoping that happens, because if that happens, Simmons going downhill is he's fearsome. And if he can create 4 on 3, all that space, there's less chance of him getting fouled, and we know how he feels about free throws. And I think that could be a real weapon in short bursts in that series. But again, he needs to come back. We've got to see whether he does come back and what sort of physical and mental state he is in. And all of these things are just massive, giant question marks. If he comes back and if he's a good version of himself for 10 to 15 minutes, he could change the series. But at the same time, if he is not fit, if he's not, I suppose, emotionally involved, if he's not confident, he could actually make things worse, taking some of Bruce Brown's minutes.
I want to have you make your next pick, but I'm surprised you didn't mention Peyton Pritchard at all. Guy hasn't missed a shot in 2 months, it seems like.
And to be honest, this is probably a series where he's not going to get picked on defensively.
Yeah,
because,
exactly.
Mills and Curry are wonderful, but they're not. They are move off the ball shooters. And Pritchard, that's probably the only type of player that Peyton Pritchard can defend. If he can just run around and chase.
The guys that the Nets have, they don't necessarily take advantage of the Celtics' weaknesses.
Well, without Williams there, that's. I think that there could be some weaknesses there if Brooklyn can get downhill. But they have to do that. I mean, their best 2 players are one-on-one players, and that doesn't necessarily take advantage of the fact that Williams isn't there on the back line. And unless they get into KD, Kyrie pick and rolls. Which
maybe the ghost of Blake Griffin will show up.
Let's not go crazy. he had his cocoon moment last season. I think we've. I hate to say it, but we've seen the last of
we've hit the DeAndre Jordan moment for him.
I didn't want to go to that series yet. I feel like you're sort of trying to segue me into it. No, we'll leave that series alone. I want to jump into Golden State Denver.
Okay.
If I could. I'm more than happy to take the Warriors on this one.
Yeah, I figured that would be the case.
Yeah. So, we're talking about Ben Simmons potentially coming back in Game 4. And I'm hearing all sorts of reports about Steph Curry's foot, that he's right to go, but he'll be hobbled to begin the series. I've heard others where he's not coming back until Game 3. I don't quite know what to believe. There was video of him training and putting a lot of pressure on that foot that came out either today or yesterday. I can't recall. So I'm not really sure what's happening there. I'm going to assume he plays and that he just might not be 100%, that he'll play his way into health. Assuming he plays, assuming Draymond is back and 100%, this really should be a series that the Warriors can control relatively easily. The one concern I have, especially because it's this version of the Nuggets where it's Jokic and some bench scrubs, essentially, filling in spots. The one concern I have, though, is that out of all the elite teams in the league, bar maybe Toronto, who've made a conscious decision to not have centers, Golden State's center rotation is the worst out of all of these contenders. Now, Kevon Looney is a big body and he's a clever basketballer. He stays well and truly within his lane, but he's a little bit undersized and a lot under-talented. So it's pretty much him or he's credit to him. He has made himself into a valuable player by knowing what he can do and knowing what he can't and sticking to what he can. And that's perfect for the Warriors. So he's the perfect center for them, the perfect low usage, low impact. You know, if you throw in the ball and say, hey, Kevon, we need you to go get a bucket, I mean, yeah, that's pretty risky. But he's really good at what he does. But he will get monstered by Jokic, and then your backup is Draymond Green, essentially. Switching, when they decide to play smaller. That worries me. That really, really worries me because Jokic is he's the one superstar in the league that it might be worse to double team him than leave him.
Oh yeah, you can't double team him.
Yeah, exactly. He's too smart, too good a passer. If his shooters are hitting their shots, you're giving up a 2 for a 3 every time.
This is going to be tough because I'm kind of down on Denver. I don't know how I can even defend him.
That big doughy Serbian dude. That's pretty much it.
Legitimately, I don't know if this is crazy, but I think Bones Highland might be their second best player right now.
Yeah. I don't necessarily agree, but at the same time, you can make a very, very strong case for it.
Yeah,
I will not begrudge anyone saying that. I just put out the last of my rookie.
Yeah, I read it.
His last 3 or 4 weeks have been awesome. He was out of my top 10, and I put him at I think 4 for the month. He's sort of shown all these flashes, but he started to put it together since probably the second week of March.
He's going to be a much better version of Will Barton, hopefully.
Yeah, look, Barton has all the confidence in the world, but he's limited, and he's getting older now. It's Barton's. I'll probably be wrong because I'm not looking this up, but I want to say he's 31, 32.
He's going to start looking like old man Lou Williams real soon.
A very different player, though. Williams was awesome in his prime. Like Barton, Barton was. I think Barton's best role was probably as like a 6th or 7th man.
Barton loves taking those shots, though. He loves taking shots.
He does, but that's where he's good as the 6th or 7th man. Yeah. Because if you can let him come in and heat check, and if he's not going well, pull him for 2 or 3 minutes, let him get his head in check to a different type of role for the night, and then let him go. And if he's cooking, great, you're going to get 25 out of him. But Highland's a different player. He actually is. Highland is a little bit like Lou Williams. He actually reminds me of Jamal Crawford.
That would be great if he turns into him.
Oh, yeah. Look, Crawford, I can't remember who said it. This is years and years ago. It might have been David Thorpe that said it. That Crawford isn't the best shot maker in the league, but he is the very best at creating a makeable shot. Like his handle is so good. His ability to create space is so good that he can create an attempt where you go, that's reasonable. Highland is like that. He's got all the handle in the world, all the confidence, just enough length, just enough speed and agility that he's able to create space for a shot that if he was a better shooter, you'd go, like if he was a Lou Williams shooter, since we're talking about Lou Williams, if he was that type of shooter, you'd go, yep, it's good offense. It's not team offense, but it's good offense. Highland's, I'm I'm very, very high. I'm very high on a lot of the rookies this season, but very high on both.
You have anything else in this series? Curry's health, Jokic one-man show.
Well, Klay Thompson's had an inconsistent comeback after 26 years of not playing. And now that he's back in a playoff setting, that playoff crucible where he's always been so good, I'm interested to see how. And now it's a case of he gets consistent gaps between games. There's no more back-to-backs. He gets a single opponent to scout and to prepare for.
Draymond hasn't been the same guy from 5 years ago either.
No, but I mean, look, they're all getting older too. But Draymond has, partly through apathy and partly through injury, rested a lot this year. So I expect Draymond to be ready. I don't expect him to be half cooked coming into these playoffs. He'll be ready to go. Clay's the interesting one though, because now that he doesn't have back-to-backs and he can prepare for the same opponent over and over again, do we start to see some consistency back in his game? Because he's shown us the old Clay in flashes, but that's just it. It's just been flashes. And there's been other nights where he looks like a guy who's 32 and hasn't played for 2 years. So I'm interested to see whether this first round series, especially against a bit of a soft touch of a backcourt, because they're just simply so decimated by injuries. I'm interested to see whether he gets a little bit of consistency and a little bit of confidence in that consistency.
I'm going to make a off the radar pick here, and I think it's going to surprise you. And I'm still in on this team more than most people are. I'm going to take Philadelphia.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to take the Raptors. I have Raptors. Yeah, I'm very big on the Raptors.
This is why I think I'm taking Philadelphia. It seems like the tides have turned, that everyone's in on Toronto now. We're out on this James Harden thing. The honeymoon's over. It's like we've seen Harden kind of lose it for weeks at a time where he's just not really engaged. He's got a contract to play for. If he doesn't show up, he's not getting that supermax from anybody. So
no, he's not.
We better see an engaged Harden. And I think that guy should show up. We know Embiid's the best player in the series. So if we get an engaged Harden, we get Embiid. Tyrese Maxey's pretty good. Why shouldn't Philadelphia win this series?
Well, Embiid will eat. He will fix.
Yes.
I was talking about pipe cleaners before. Chris Boucher he barely qualifies as a pipe cleaner. Their other center in
Embiid's going to be able to have 40 every night if he wants to.
Yeah, he really should. He can put these guys into the basket.
Yeah.
And who's the I've gone blank in his name. The Precious Achua. He's undersized as a center as well. Embiid he's huge. Like I'm not, this isn't breaking news, but he is a massive, massive unit. They're going to get in foul trouble real quick on certain nights. Yeah, Toronto have made a conscious decision to have Fred VanVleet and an army of people between 6'6" and 6'9", and that's fine. Like I've got no issue with that. I think it's a really good weapon, and I'll explain that in a minute. But the one I guess circuit break for this type of team is a massive center who can tear them apart. So, and I'm talking a big, like not like a big man like Giannis who likes to dribble into his moves, a bloke that you can throw it to one-on-one and has got enough passing chops to get out of the double team. And
I just think there's going to be a night where like Siakam's got 2 fouls and Boucher's got 2 fouls and Achua's got 2 fouls and they're sitting there like,
he's got 2. Yeah, exactly.
What are we doing?
And look, the 2 guys who can really break this team apart are Jokic and Embiid. And they might meet one in the finals if everything breaks right for both teams. It's unlikely, but they are meeting one right now. And Embiid he's not Jokic as a passer, but he is a very good passer. He's the sort of guy that if Philly are hitting their shots, he could end up with 8 assists on a given night as well. But on the flip side, Tobias Harris can shoot, but often chooses not to. Danny Green.
What a way to start an argument. You just bring up Tobias Harris.
Well, I like Tobias Harris. I think he's a good player, but I mean, God, he gives us some ammunition against him, doesn't he?
Bagdonis wrote a post. Colin Cowherd put Tobias Harris second All NBA.
Yeah, but it's Colin Cowherd. I mean,
Second team All NBA, Tobias Harris.
Look, Colin
that's
Coward like going to Colin Coward for sports, for sports opinion is like going to Kevin Sorbo for your epidemiology. Like, you're dealing with a fuckwit when it comes to this stuff. Like, Cowherd, how has he got the platform he does? He's got no idea. I mean, he's been there forever. Maybe, I don't know, he's got incriminating photos of someone high up at ESPN or something. But it's the only thing I can think of. But on to Philly. Tobias Harris is a good shooter, but he's often reluctant to shoot, prefers to, fake and drive. Maxey won't hesitate to shoot. Harden is not an off-the-ball player and never has been. Danny Green is 3 years past the best. This is a side that needs someone who can attack off the bounce. And the only one who can really do that, Maxey's pretty good. And Harden is still, for all of his foibles, is still excellent at it. But what has Harden feasted off for years and years and years? It's switches. And this is a team that is basically switch-proof. And Van Vliet is small, but he's quick, he's rugged, and he's deceptively strong. And everybody else is big and long. Perhaps this is the weakest defender. In fact, not perhaps. He is the weakest defender out of the starting five, Scotty Barnes. And he's a really good defender. Yeah. Off the ball, Barnes is a menace, but on the ball, he's actually not that good a defender. It's almost like a Robert Covington thing where he's so good off the ball that people think he's good on it, but he's actually not. But having said that, he's not a liability on the ball either. This team is almost designed to destroy what James Harden does. The only person he's going to get his step back over is Van Vliet, because everybody else is too long. And that step back isn't quite the weapon it used to be, simply because his drive isn't what it used to be. He doesn't create the space because people aren't scared of that first step that Harden used to have. So I think Harden is going to, I still think Philadelphia will, I was about to say I think Philadelphia will win the series, but I'm not actually sure of that. I
think a lot of people are picking Toronto.
Yeah, this is a genuine coin flip for me.
Wow.
I honestly think that Harden and Maxey will find it very, very difficult in this series. Embiid will just eat out. He can have as many points as he chooses to have on these games. The other side of it, though, is that Toronto, can they score enough? They've got all these guys who are good scorers, particularly Siakam and Van Vliet. But they've got who is the guy that, late game situation, there's 90 seconds left, you're down by 4, you need this basket to keep the game alive. They're throwing it to Siakam? No, it's not a bad option, but it's not the best option. Like every other team in the playoffs has got a guy, even looking at the teams that are still in the play-in. And you look at CJ McCollum, Reggie Jackson, Trae Young, even Darius Garland. I would trust all of those guys to go get me a we must have this basket now type of basket to Siakam. And that's not to denigrate the guy. I think he's a borderline all-star when he's at his best. But he's a borderline all-star because he does everything well. Probably the weakest part of his game is one-on-one offense.
One more thing, and then I'll have you make your next pick. I'm surprised you didn't bring up the coaching disparity, because that's the one thing I'm worried about. Is God, I'm really about to pick Doc Rivers in a series where I feel like he's going to get fired if he doesn't win this series. I was hoping we touched on that a little later. But to spoil our rundown a little bit, we've got some little quick hitter questions and what it is about coaching, and I wanted to bring up Doc then. This is the one coaching matchup though that I look at. I'm like, oh god,
this is a monstrous mismatch.
Yeah.
Nick Nurse is brilliant, and Doc Rivers.
He's a top 5 coach in the league. He
is, and Doc Rivers is a soundbite. I wrote a story, I think it was last season now, about whether Doc Rivers was overrated, underrated, or properly rated. And overall, from memory, I came to the conclusion that he was overrated, but that was probably our fault for overrating that Boston title. And and for those Clippers runs. Like it was more about the players than about him. He's a brilliant coach at bringing a team together. Like he's a perfect coach when you're in a crisis.
His best moment was developing Rondo, for sure.
Oh, I think probably his best moment was keeping the Clippers afloat through the whole Sterling fiasco.
Oh, well, yeah, but the Celtics at least won a title. That Clippers team can look back and
I'm not saying that Doc Rivers is a bad coach. This isn't Randy Whitman we're talking about. He's a decent coach, but he's massively, he's just outgunned here by Nick Nurse, who is one of the best adjustment.
It's like a bee in here. It's making me nuts. I don't know what it is.
So for Vendetta's social team, we've got our clip now for the social.
This is insane. I'm getting attacked.
This is memeable, everyone.
Yeah. All right, let's have you make your next pick.
All right, let's have a look at what we got left on the board here. No, that one's going to be an absolute whitewash. I'm going to steer clear of that one for the moment. This is a series that up until today, I was thinking one way, but now I'm actually steering the other way because of an injury issue, and that's Dallas, Utah.
Oh wow!
I'm going to look. I've got a lot of takes on both sides here, but I'm a Jazz man. I'll take Utah. I'll let you go with the 4 seed Mavericks.
Okay. Am I starting?
Either way, I'm not fussed.
I hope Luka's healthy. I guess I have to start there.
Can I be, slightly partisan and say I hope he isn't? Is that wrong with me? Does that make me a bad person? Trey?
No, I don't think it does at all. I think this is a huge playoff series for the Jazz. Like if the Jazz at least win a playoff series, you can sit there and look like, okay, we're not totally lost. If we lose to an unhealthy Mavs team, this is not great.
Yeah. This is high level stakes for the Jazz. This is higher than
I think so too.
Final stakes. This is future of this squad. Type of stuff.
You think they would actually fire Quinn Snyder? I think that would be a huge mistake.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, I think Snyder's an excellent coach, but I hear more and more that he's a difficult person to deal with behind the scenes. And of course, there's been a lot of changes behind the scenes in Utah. New owner, new GM. Danny Ainge is some mystical oracle type of person. I'm not quite sure what his title is or what he does. Dwayne Wade's on board. Yeah, it's all this. It's a different setup to what it was 6 or 7 years ago when he came in, 8 years ago, whatever it was. Depending on who replaced him, like in a vacuum, it would be a mistake to replace him. But at the same time, sometimes you do just need a change of voice. Sometimes you might bring in someone who's better. It's an unanswerable question, but in a vacuum, I'd say it's probably a mistake. But back to the series, if Utah win, they won't fire him. Look, I was leaning Dallas in probably 5, thinking they'd win the 5th game at home. But with Luka out, I'm thinking Utah in 6. I think Utah can nick this one. I think they can steal a game in Dallas and then essentially hold serve for the rest of the series. Luka is it's such a heliocentric offense. Everything is based around Luka. Jason Kidd, and by the way, I was so down on that Jason Kidd hire, but
me too.
He's evolved as a coach. He's so much better now than what he was when he was the Bucks coach. I got to admit, I'm actually pretty impressed with Kidd's coaching this season.
So, correct me if I'm wrong here, but Dallas Mavericks, they second best record in the West after the All-Star break?
It's something like that. I don't know the exact figures, but
I don't have it.
It's
but
better than their seed.
Yeah,
certainly better than their seed.
That part's encouraging. The Dinwiddie thing hasn't been a total disaster.
He's been good.
Yeah, they've gotten more out of him than they probably maybe even expected. So that part's encouraging.
And of course, Jalen Brunson is like, he's really good.
He makes more money every day.
Yeah, he does. I honestly think this will be his last, his last season as a Mav. I'm not sure they can afford to hold him. He will get big money on the open market.
Somebody's going to pay him.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm, Cuban can afford it, but at the same time, does it? How do they allocate their cap space? Is Jalen Brunson that integral to them that they'll pay him 20 plus a season? Because I think that's what he's going to get. I think he's going to around that 20.
And now they're stuck with Dinwiddie. So how can you really justify paying 3 guards the amount of money that is going to take?
Well, one, it's working.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And 2, I think Dinwiddie was the insurance policy. But onto this series, the one way to stretch out Utah's defense is to take Gobert out of the middle. And this is one team that really can't do that. Dwight Powell is their best center. He's a rim runner. He's exactly the type of player that Gobert guards beautifully. Gobert guards plenty of guys beautifully. He's a generational defensive player. Maxi Kleber is the backup now, and he'll let it fly, but he's not a great shooter. He's decent. You got to respect him, but you can go out and close him, and he doesn't have the off the bounce game to draw Gobert out in a hard close and go past him and make something happen.
Would you rather have him or Tice?
Nothing more. Sorry.
Would you rather have him or Tice?
I'd probably take Tice, but you're splitting hairs. Yeah. I think Tice is better all round. Neither of them, they're both okay shooters. I think Tice is just a better all round player. But again, they're fairly interchangeable, really. Slightly undersized white German centers who can do a little bit of everything. I think the Dallas, this makeup of the Mavericks. Funnily enough, the Mavericks with Porzingis would probably present Utah with a whole lot more issues because Porzingis has to be guarded at the 3-point line. You could even switch Gobert onto Finney Smith if you don't trust Finney Smith's shot shooting, and let him, basically dare Dorian Finney-Smith to go and get 30 on you, go and hit 8 threes. I think this is the sort of side that plays into Utah's defensive schemes, which is essentially save as Rudy. I think Dallas play into that. And without Luka to be that skeleton key that can create something out of nothing, I don't think Dallas have got enough to take both games at home in the first 2 games. And like I said, from there, and it's a 4-5 series. They're both really good teams. But I don't think that Dallas's defense, which is average, can slow down Utah's offense enough. And I think Utah's defense has enough to slow down Dallas without Doncic in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, this comes down to Luka. He's got to play at least 4 of the games, 5 of the games, 6.
That's assuming it goes to 7.
Yeah, I mean, they can't win this series if he's not healthy, though. So
no, and that's the thing. If he's missing the first 2 games, if you miss 5 games in the regular season, you come back for the 6th. The assumption is you're healthy. If you come back for game 3 of a series, the assumption is that you're being rushed back because it's the playoffs. So, there is, proverbially speaking, no tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if he misses the first 2 games as is reported, he'll come back for game 3. Let's name a figure, 75%. Game 4 is 85. By game 5, he's back to effectively what he normally is. But by then, he might be down 3-1. So I think that this is a series where, just in the last 24 hours, Utah's taken favoritism.
I'll take Milwaukee next. Chicago just feel like dead dogs walking. I mean, this team has fallen off a total cliff. No Lonzo Ball, he's not coming back. I mean, Caruso, what's he gonna really do to turn the tide? Now
he's a good defensive player, good transition player, but he's a complementary player. Yeah. He's not a difference maker, so to speak.
And DeRozan in isolation can hit shots, and Levine can score, but that's not going to be enough to beat this Bucks team.
Well, those 2 guys like their mid-range shots, and this is a side that Milwaukee they've got enough long bodies that they can stay with you. And if you get past those bodies,
I think
they've got
Chicago
Lopez
might get swept.
Giannis. Yeah, this is the series to me, outside of the 8-1 series. Like, this is the series to me that looks the most like it's a sweep, or at the very least a gentleman's sweep.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, there's not really much to say about this one. Levine and DeRozan will get their 25 a game. Patrick Williams has looked good since he's come back, but again, he's a second-year player.
Is this a good year for Chicago? Let's just say they lose in 5 to Milwaukee.
It probably is, when if you just looked at the record and you went, we've paid all this money, given up all these draft picks to be a 6 seed and lose in the first round, and lose without really pushing the 3 seed. But if you read between the lines, it probably has, because when they've been healthy, this side has been really, really good. They've managed to invert the usual defensive structure of have a brilliant defensive big man and everything else takes care of itself. Vooch is smart, but he's not stopping anyone. So instead, they've gone, let's go and get all these perimeter defenders, and let's just cut off shots at the rim at their source. Let's stop it from the outside. So defensively, they're really good. That creates all these fast breaks, which Levine, Ball, Caruso. It's back. It's back.
This is insane. I think I gotta kill that thing. Wherever it is.
You need some bug spray or something, man.
Yeah, this is insane. It's freaking New Jersey. I'm getting.
Because what you want is to spray a bee and then have it get really angry at you. There's nothing.
Yeah, I'm allergic to bees too, so it's bad. It's real bad.
Okay. You better spray that thing.
Yeah.
When you throw in that Williams looks good, Dosunmu, man, he looks really good. He looks like
good draft pick by them.
Yeah, very good pick. You read between the lines, and the only thing that really stopped this side was the fact that they're fairly thin, and once 2 or 3 players went out, they were rat shit. But yeah, I think there's a lot to be encouraged by the Bulls season. They've just got to make sure that next season they can get all their players on the floor and hope that DeRozan has something similar to the season he's had this year.
Yeah. I don't know if I have much to add. I think
no, it's a pretty straightforward series. Yeah. It's unfortunate because the Bulls were a really nice story to start the season. But, look, there was a stat I saw that the Bucks defense, which is like 11th or 12th in the league overall, in the minutes where Giannis, Middleton, and Holiday play, they're second. So, and that's without Lopez for most of the year. So you throw those guys in with Lopez getting his sea legs under him, this is a side that's going to just strangle the life out of people again. Yeah. So to me, there's not much more to add to this one. Look, I think we need to do the 2 1-8 seeds because they're the only ones we have.
Yeah, we're at the end of the road.
Yeah. Let's go east. Let's look at whoever wins out of Atlanta and Cleveland against possibly the lowest profile number 1 seed in a conference that I can ever recall in the Miami Heat.
I'm with you.
No one's talking about Miami.
They're curious to me. I feel like they can go on a run.
That's a good word for it. That's a good word for it.
At the same time, I do think they'd have their problems. Like I kind of mentioned this. I think they're over reliant on Tyler Hero. Like late in games, he almost has to hit his shots because Jimmy Butler's not hitting his shots from the outside.
No, Jimmy's peak was that finals a couple of years back.
Like Tyler Hero is really important to them.
Yeah.
They got a couple guys like PJ Tucker that can compete. Bam, we know what he's going to do. I just don't know what we're getting from them. Like, or how do we know they're good? I think they are good. I think Lowry's the type of playoff guy that probably makes a difference, but man, I don't know.
We know they're good because they win games despite the fact that they've been, just ravaged by injury.
I don't know if I can get that Miami-Milwaukee series out of my head from last year.
No, if they come up against Milwaukee, they'll get owned. Milwaukee is just, Milwaukee learnt their lessons from a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
yeah. And look, I think a lot of the reason that they keep their head above water is that Eric Spoelstra is a fucking baller. Like, to me,
and you can win a lot of games just being really well coached and having depth.
It's not even really well. To me, he is the best coach in the league, bar none. And
LeBron wanted him fired though, so
yeah, because GM LeBron James has got such an awesome track record. Look, I think there's some wonderful coaches in this league, and I still think it's Spoelstra then daylight. Like, I think he's that far ahead of the.
It's fair. It's fair.
It's
when Miami played Boston, I think it was 2 years ago, right? I don't think I've ever seen Brad Stevens get out coached the way that I saw him get out coached. Like,
and it wasn't just out coached; he got thoroughly out coached.
Like, I don't think I've ever seen.
That might have been the beginning of. I need to go into the front office now.
Like, I don't think I've ever seen him get out coached.
Yeah, now Spoelstra's he's magnificent, mate. He's a great coach. I honestly think he's worth 8 to 10 wins for that team. I really do.
Probably.
If you put an average coach, like, I don't know who could we say? Let's say, like, even someone like Ty Lue.
They're losing 10 more games.
Ty Lue's a good coach, and he is one of the best in-game adjustment coaches in the league.
The Bill Belichick of the NBA. That's what they're calling him now.
Well, it's a little bit like that. I mean, he's he is. I mean,
he's got to win some titles before we give him that one.
Well, yeah, I don't. Ty Lue's a brilliant coach. He's great at at finding the little cracks in the middle of a game. Like, if a game plan doesn't work, it's not like a dogma to him. He doesn't stick to it. He'll adjust as he needs to. Lue's great at that. You put him in Spoelstra's place, and Miami goes from 53 to 48.
I think Vogel's a good coach.
Vogel, he's a very good coach on one side of the ball. I think he's a woeful offensive coach.
If Miami had Vogel, they're losing 5 more games, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, Spoelstra's as good a defensive coach as Vogel, if not better, and he's miles better offensive, but not even close.
Like, they have guys like Max Strus hitting like shots.
Yeah, Strus and Gabe Vincent and the Martin twins is there. Like,
they're getting a lot out of those guys.
Yeah, but this is the Miami thing. This is the Spoelstra thing. We find guys on the edges and we make them into better players. Duncan Robinson's, Duncan Robinson's family is paid for the next 3 or 4 generations.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that was so confident in his abilities coming out of college that he didn't even think of being a professional basketballer. Not even NBA, just not professional at all. And he's ended up signing an $80 million contract because he got into the right system. The Heat turned him into that player. We talked about Memphis before, and how when Jar's out, that depth, that ability to have 5 good players, if not, no great players, but they can have 5 good players on the floor, how that is a difficult thing to play against because there's no weak spot. Miami is the East version of that. If Bam is injured, if Butler's ailing, if Lowry is resting because he's as old as the hills, you can plug in Robinson and Vincent and Strus. You can even, dust off Oladipo if you need to. You can, throw some minutes to Dedmon. They've got all of these guys. They've got down to 11 or 12 in the roster are good, competent NBA players. So it's not like you can pick on their bench because their bench is better than your bench. There's probably the only bench that can go with them, realistically, is Memphis.
Yeah, I think Atlanta and Cleveland, whoever it is, will probably lose in 5. I mean, maybe 6 if we're being generous.
Yeah, look.
But who do you think gives Miami more of a problem?
It depends.
I'd say probably
back.
True.
Yeah, if like, in all honesty, I was going to ask you who do you think wins that game, that playing game. But to me, it comes down to whether Allen's back. If he's back, I think Cleveland win it. If not, Mobley's good, but he's still built like a twig. He's at the moment he's a he's a 4 who will be a center in 3 years. He's not a center right now. He's just not strong enough. And I think that Bam will just beat him into submission. Butler will drive in and throw the shoulder in, but Mobley will be hurting by the end of a series against Miami. He'll be genuinely hurting.
I may as well take Phoenix to move to them. They're probably at this point the odds on. I mean, yes, they're the odds on favorite to win the title, but they're almost maybe being disrespected. Like they should be more of a favorite to win the title. Like some of their clutch stats, they're outrageously good. You get the best point differential in the league.
And just have a look at their record. I mean, they're
winning 64 games is not easy.
Right? It's Memphis has got the second best record in the league, and they're 8 games behind Phoenix. Now, I'm just having a quick look at the standings of all the teams that are within 8 games of Memphis.
But a lot of people are talking about like, oh, like what are we doing? Like Phoenix is going to win, obviously. Like we're not hearing that from a lot of people.
I've just had a quick look at it. 8 teams are within 8 games of Memphis, like below them. So basically, the gap between the first and second in the league is the same as the gap between second and 10th.
Yeah,
but that's absurd. Like Phoenix are lapping the field. Now, to prove your point, though, I still think Milwaukee are the favorites of the title.
Probably.
Yeah, there is. I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that.
But based on like the record and the point differential and the clutch stats, like people should be talking about Phoenix as like
in a vacuum. Absolutely. Like it's purely just a feel that the Bucks have played this in third year all season. Yeah, that Milwaukee, if they really wanted to, could be a 60-win team themselves. And then we're talking about.
Well, they've done it before.
Match.
They just.
Yeah, exactly. They've done it before. Chris Paul, touch wood, Chris Paul has gotten his annual injury out of the way early. So hopefully we get to
and they still won 64 games.
Yeah, they did. Exactly. But if we get to see, because Paul wasn't healthy last season. When the Rockets probably should have beaten the Warriors, that was the season where Chris Paul did his hammy in Game 6, and the Rockets imploded from there. We get to the pointy end of the season, and Chris Paul always seems to have an injury. He had one with the Clippers. He always seems to get injured right at the wrong time.
Houston,
so the fact that,
wrong timing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm hoping the fact that he's gotten that out of the way early, that he's had, what was it, 4 weeks off?
Be an awesome story for him if he got a ring.
It would be. It would be. It would actually put a little bit of a dent in the story I'm going to do in the off season. But yeah, so maybe I'm hoping for Milwaukee for that. But no, I still like Phoenix is going to wipe the floor with whoever they play. If they play New Orleans, it's going to be a sweep.
Yeah,
they're just.
Well, at least we'll get to see Herb Jones.
Yeah, well, no, look, I love watching Herb Jones play, but I mean, look, he'll go and play on Booker, but then that still leaves Paul and Bridges to do their thing. Valanciunas can probably scare DeAndre Ayton into a bad series just by the
more so than Steven Adams could have.
Steven Adams scares Jonas Valanciunas. Steven Adams is he's a mad looking man. And yet he might be the nicest bloke in the league. That's the nice little sort of paradox of him. Look, I don't see a way for New Orleans to win a game against Phoenix. If the Clippers get in, I can see them winning a game, maybe even 2, just off the fact that Reggie Jackson can go nuts on a particular night. And that the Clippers do have Paul George back. They have one of their superstars back, and he is enough to.
What if Kawhi just shows up?
Carry him to like a Game 3 win, well, that's the thing. I mean, PG's highly inconsistent, but his best is awesome.
What if Kawhi shows up?
It's not happening. It's not happening.
Do we ever know what's happening with Kawhi, though?
I've given up like looking for it. Ever since what was the uncle's name? Uncle Derek or whatever it was in San Antonio. Ever since that whole fiasco, I've just given up on trying to get a gauge on Kawhi and injuries and return dates and all that. Like he'll roll up when he rolls up and not a day before. And that is what it is. I could see the Clippers nicking a game, maybe two. But either way, Phoenix is going to win their first round matchup.
Yeah. Let's do some of these quick hitters that you prepared for us. Any other coaching mismatch that we didn't talk about beyond Nurse?
Yeah, the obvious one's been touched on, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Let's have a look here. I mean, at the start of the season, if you told me Dallas and Utah were matching up, I would have said Utah had a massive advantage in coaching. That's not necessarily the case now. Willie Green has been a better coach than what I thought he'd be. Monty Williams is an excellent coach.
Yeah.
When I said that Spoelstra,
Philly probably messed up not promoting him.
Yeah, absolutely. When I said that Spoelstra laps the field as a coach, that's probably unfair to Monty Williams. But ultimately, Green and Lua are pretty good coaches. Look, the big one really is Doc against
maybe I spoiled it. My fault.
Yeah, you probably have. But you know what? The other one is whoever plays Miami. Nate McMillan is just a bog standard, ordinary NBA coach, and James Borrego, I think, is one of the worst coaches in the league. I think James Borrego is a bad NBA coach.
I hear the people on Charlotte's Twitter don't like him very much.
Well, there's no defense there. Their offensive strategy is essentially let LaMelo create some magic. He doesn't seem to handle the person.
Well, no wonder why they want Westbrook.
Oh, that would be, that'd be an awful move. No, if it's whoever Miami play is the other coaching mismatch, particularly if they play Charlotte. I think Borrego's a poor coach.
How about unheralded player? Biggest impact. Somebody we're not talking about.
Well, if Denver pushed his series to 7, it'll be a nugget. The player I think will step up that you know what? I'm going to say Daniel House.
Oh.
Utah. I think he is going to, if not take Royce O'Neal's spot in the starting lineup, he will end up playing more minutes than Royce O'Neal in this series, and that will get progressively more pronounced as Utah progress further into the playoffs. And again, Utah probably won't go beyond the second round, but if they beat Dallas. But I think Daniel House will be the surprise name. He's a better shooter than O'Neal, and a more willing.
I got one for you.
Yeah,
I haven't brought him up, and I think you're going to like this answer. George Niang. Matisse Thybulle. He's gonna miss. Matisse Thybulle is gonna miss the Raptors games in Toronto.
How did we not bring that up as part of that series?
Well, I'm bringing it up.
On our part, we should have brought that up. Yeah,
I'm bringing it up now.
Yeah,
bringing it up now. Somebody's got to eat those minutes.
And look, he's a completely different player. I mean, Niang is slow-footed. Like he's a smart player, but
who's going to eat those minutes? It has to be him.
Well, he calls himself the minivan for a reason. Is because he's not mobile. But whereas Thybulle can't shoot to save, like Thybulle wouldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. Niang can shoot the eyes out of the ball, so he presents a different type of problem. But yeah, he seems to be the and he's a undersized power.
What are you going to do? Throw Korkmaz in there instead?
Sorry?
You going to throw Korkmaz in there instead?
Well, positionally, he's the replacement, and he does similar things, as in shoots the ball well and plays zero defense. So there might be a bit of Korkmaz in it as well. Niang's a better player than Korkmaz, but Yeah, that's not a bad shout. You're right. Someone's got to take those minutes, and there's going to be at least 2 games.
Yep.
North of the border. I'll tell you what. Here's one for you. Langford.
Oh,
do Boston throw him out there?
Well, he's not even on the roster anymore. They traded him to San Antonio.
Who am I thinking of then? Who's the other big wing they've got on their roster?
Grant Williams?
No. There's another shooter on that roster. Naismith, Aaron Naismith.
Aaron Naismith. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Wrong botched late lottery pick. Aaron Naismith.
Oh man.
There's so many of them in Boston. And like
that one's the ghost of Tyler Hero.
Well, do they throw at Naismith as someone who is a little bit bigger, might be able to smother one of the, he doesn't have to create a lot because the ball's going to be in Smart's hands, it's going to be in White's hands, Tatum and Brown. They'll do a lot of the ball handling. Do they throw him out there and basically say, go hit me 3 threes in 15 minutes of play? The sort of guy that can swing a quarter and therefore swing a game.
Any other of these quick hitters you want to go over before we give out finals picks?
I think we go into our predictions.
Yeah. Who's your finals pick? Or maybe we'll do conference finals picks and then
let's just go through our first round picks first because we didn't hit on all of those. So we know we're both picking the number 1 seeds in both conferences, no matter who they play. Memphis.
Yeah.
Memphis and Mini in how many games?
6.
Yeah, I think 6 as well. Let's look east. Who's the 2 seed out there? That's Boston, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
This is one where you're not so confident in your Celtics.
I'll go Nets in 7.
I'm going to say Celtics in 7.
Okay. I hope you're right.
Right. Golden State, Denver.
Golden State in 5.
I'll say Golden State. I'm thinking 6 or 7. I'll go with 7.
Okay. 7. Man, yeah. Jokic is going to have to play out of his mind.
I think they'll win it at home. I think Denver's home court advantage is strong.
Okay. Milwaukee, I'm going sweep.
Yeah, look, Chicago, I'll be generous. I'll say gentleman's sweep.
Okay.
Then we got Utah, Dallas.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to go Utah in 6. That's on the assumption that Luka misses 2 games.
I'm going to go Utah in 6 as well.
I'll put the asterisks on here if Luka plays.
Yeah,
he's relatively healthy.
It's impossible to project unless we know what's going on with him.
Yeah, exactly. Then it's probably Dallas in 7, maybe. But at this stage, assuming he's not playing, I'll say Utah in 6. Then we've got dying on you there.
Philly and Toronto.
Yeah, Philly, Toronto. So I am going to go Toronto.
Okay. I'll go Philly in 6.
I'm going to go the Raps in 6.
I'll go Philly in 6.
So they're going to win the last game in Toronto. Okay. All right. So yeah, let's have first rounders done. Do we want to look at predictions to second, or do we wait until they come up?
We'll do this however you want to do
it. All right, let's have some fun. Let's go with these predictions. So
okay,
we're saying we're saying Phoenix against Utah in round 2.
Phoenix.
Yeah,
Phoenix quick.
Yeah, Phoenix in 5. Miami and you're going Philly. I'm going Toronto. Who do we use for this projection?
See, this is where I have my upset in. I think Philadelphia is going to beat Miami in round 2.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay. Look, I think Miami would take care of Toronto.
Okay.
So our other one in the West is Golden State Memphis. Oh man, that would be such a series. That would
I'd
be like,
probably lean Golden State and
yeah,
Golden
that'd be
State and
fun.
7.
Oh man. I'm genuinely conflicted on this one, Trey. You've said Golden State for the sake of the argument, I'll say Memphis in 7, but
All right.
geez, I'm yeah, that's a coin flip. Oh, wow. So our other series is, well, we're both saying Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I'm saying that they're matching up with Boston. You're saying they're matching up with Brooklyn.
This one's tough for me too.
Either way, I think Milwaukee wins. I actually think they'll beat Boston by more than they'll beat Brooklyn.
I think if they play Brooklyn, we're going to get another dogfight here.
Yeah, that'd be a genuinely brilliant series. But as much as I think Boston's a better team, I think that the Nets are a more difficult matchup for Milwaukee.
It's the Durant factor that matters.
Yeah, exactly. Durant's a difficult matchup for everyone.
Yeah.
So we're both going Milwaukee no matter what there?
I think so. I don't think I think they can be beat.
Yeah, look, in the East, anyone can be beat, I think. I think the West is, close enough to a foregone conclusion. But yeah, in the East, it's a dogfight. Anyone can beat anyone.
Durant had them beat. He had a toe on the line. He was going to the finals.
That much.
Yeah.
He crams his toes into a smaller sized boot, and we could be talking about a 3-time champ right now.
Yeah.
So Western Conference.
I do think Milwaukee can be beat.
I think they can. I don't think it'll be at this stage though. So we've got Phoenix, and you were tipping Golden State. I was tipping Memphis.
Yeah. I'll take the Suns regardless.
Yeah, Suns in 6 no matter what. Sorry, Suns in 5 no matter what.
Ooh, 5.
Yeah. No, I think they'll steal one of the 2 away games, and then they'll clean it up at home in Game 5.
So you think Phoenix could really go on like a, I guess 12-2 kind of run through this Western Conference?
Yeah, they might get through that conference with 3-4 losses at the worst across the series. Like they're so far ahead of everybody else in the West, everybody else in the league, really. I think they're a shoo-in to make to represent the West in the finals.
Fair.
Not much more to say. They're just miles ahead of everyone. So this is where it gets interesting. So
we think it's going to be a rematch.
Well, not necessarily, because we're still going to talk about our East Conference finals.
True.
So we've both got Milwaukee, but you've got Philly and I've got Miami.
Yeah.
So can either of those beat the Bucks?
I think a motivated James Harden could.
I think Drew Holiday will give him fits.
Yeah, I think I kind of said that the last time we recorded. Like, I'm just going to end up sitting here being like, why did I pick against Drew Holiday?
Yeah.
So I'm going to take Milwaukee, but I do think Philly's a little bit undervalued here coming into the postseason.
It depends on Harden. Like, he is the ultimate swing player in this. I mean, he's a guy that, and let's face it, he's an MVP who also finished second 3 times. We should be, and considering one of those was to that Westbrook season, we should be. Well,
I think Westbrook's a good example, because I think people are looking at Westbrook right now and they're like, well, why would we give Harden this supermax? We don't want to get stuck with a Westbrook type of contract, because that contract's going to be bad. Like, that's going to be the worst contract in the league the minute he signs that.
Yep.
So he has to play.
And John Wall's suddenly a very happy man.
Yeah, he has to play well.
Yeah, he does. He really does.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even need to be that 36-point-a-game scorer. No, he just in Houston. He just needs to be, 25 and 9 with maybe 6 boards, but efficient.
If he does that, Daryl Morey will give him the contract.
Yeah.
But he has to do it.
Daryl might give him the contract anyway. Because Daryl will give him the bloody contract.
You think he'll give him the contract anyway?
There's a bromance going on there, man. Yeah, look, I think, I've got Miami going to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think it matters whether it's Philly or Miami. I think Milwaukee make it through to the finals. I think we get our rematch. From there, though, who wins the big one? Because this is a real toss-up.
If it's Milwaukee and Phoenix in the finals again, I think I'm going to stick with Milwaukee.
Yeah, I will as well. I think it'd be.
But I do think it's more unlikely Milwaukee makes it to the finals than Phoenix.
Oh, absolutely. Like
Yeah.
I would take Phoenix I'd take Phoenix against the field in the West.
Yes.
I would.
I don't feel that way about Milwaukee.
No,
I don't want to take
any one of about 5 teams that can stake a claim.
Yeah.
Realistically, like and one of those is the bloody 7th seed. So,
let's say Drew Holiday sprains his ankle. He's out for like a week. Like that's a problem.
Yeah.
There's going to be an injury or two that factors into this. Like even if somebody on Phoenix goes down, like a Bridges goes down, I think they'll be fine to get out of the West.
Yeah.
Some of these Eastern.
Actually, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, Bridges is vitally important to that team. I would almost be more confident if Chris Paul went down, to be honest, simply because they've got more people who can.
I just think like if Phoenix
Bridges
suffers an injury, I will still pick them out of the West, and as long as it's not like Booker.
Yeah, and look, I mean, DeAndre Ayton went down, and they turned JaVale McGee into this, 16 and 8 guy. They turned Bismack Biyombo, who was out of the league, into A, someone who learned how to catch, and B, into a 16 and 8 guy. So they've got this ability to plug and play people. Bridges is a really difficult fill.
Yeah,
I honestly think Chris Paul is an easier fill because you can just handle. The creative
I look
stuff
at Cam
over
Johnson
Booker.
as a. I mean, yes, he's not as good defensively, but he's going to hit his shots.
He's a far better shooter than Bridges.
Yeah, he's going to hit his shots.
He's nowhere near as good defensively. But that's where I mean that he's a harder replacement. I think you can put in, any of those extra point guards that they've got.
I think in the East,
more
though,
of the creative stuff to Booker.
In the East, like an injury here or an injury there could drastically change something.
Yeah, it'll swing a series without a doubt. So yeah, man, it'll be a better series than last season. And when you think about it,
I mean, Kaminsky's not on the floor, so yes, it will be a better series than last season.
Who would have thought Biyombo would be an upgrade over bloody Kaminsky? Jesus.
Well, he is.
Poor Frank the Tank.
He might be a better. I mean, Sarge is probably a downgrade.
Yeah. No, look, it's. Yeah, and that's the one thing. Phoenix really missed Dario Saric last season. Really missed him. And they have stocked up. They've got contingencies now for that sort of thing. Yeah. But when you think about it, that series last season, that final series, was turned on moments. It was turned on Giannis's block. It was turned on that massive dunk that he had in Game 5, I think it was. And then, of course, he hung the 50-piece on him in Game 6. So this series, as much as it was 6 games, it was razor thin last season. I think it'll be razor thin again, and Phoenix theoretically are better positioned to change that margin to their side. But I just can't shake the feeling that if we get a rematch, that Milwaukee will do it again. That you said it at the start of this pod, the best player in the series often is the deciding factor. And Giannis is the best player in that series.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Anything else we want to add here?
Oh, I think I'm talked out.
Okay. All right. This was fun. That is Jarrod Prosser, of course. Make sure to follow him. Hey_it's_JP. One more time so people can actually definitely do this. Hey_it's_JP.
Myself, the fact that you know my handle now.
Yeah, I do. Myself, Trey Daubert. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.